Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something really fundamental where we actually choose to build things.
Yeah, it's a huge decision with really long-lasting effects.
Exactly. It's not just about, pouring concrete. It's about being responsible with land development, which impacts our communities, our environment, everything, really.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in how smarter building choices can lead to, well, healthier places and stronger communities, stick around.
Definitely.
And make sure you subscribe so you catch all our future deep dives into this world.
Absolutely. And there's actually a great framework guiding this responsibility we're talking about.
Right.
We're going deep into the LED DBD+C V5 system today, specifically the Location and Transportation Credit, LTc1, which focuses on sensitive land protection.
Sensitive land protection.
Yeah, and the core idea isn't just, checking a box. It's genuinely about promoting smarter land use. Yeah. Protecting those sensitive ecosystems.
Which reduces the environmental hit from building.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is how it ties into community resilience. By deliberately not building on land that provides critical services, think flood protection from wetlands, or food from prime farmland, or habitat for wildlife, we're making our communities stronger in the long run.
So who needs to be aware of this LTC1 credit? Is it just for certain types of buildings?
No, its reach is actually pretty wide. This credit applies across a whole range of project types in LED V5.
Like what?
We're talking new construction, core and shell, schools, warehouses, distribution centers, hospitality, even data centers. It covers a lot of ground, development-wise.
Okay, quite broad then. And what's the sort of immediate payoff for project teams? Why chase this specific credit?
Well, there's a tangible benefit. If you meet the requirements, your project earns 1 point in the LED system.
Just 1 point.
Yeah, just 1 point. But look, sometimes that 1 point is crucial. It shows a real commitment to doing things sustainably, and it all adds up towards the overall certification goal.
Makes sense. Okay, so how does a project actually get this point? Sounds like there are a couple of ways.
That's right. 2 main options. Let's start with option 1, previously developed sites.
Okay, previously developed. What does that involve?
It's actually quite straightforward. The main requirement is that your entire development footprint.
So the building, the parking, paths, everything.
Exactly. The whole area you're describing has to be located completely on land that counts as previously developed.
Okay, but what is previously developed then? I mean, is an old parking lot the same as, say, a field where a factory used to be?
Good question. The definition is key here. It means land that's been altered by human activity. Things like buildings, pavement, infrastructure, that sort of stuff.
Right.
But, and this is important, just having landscaping like a lawn or some trees doesn't automatically make it previously developed. Not unless that landscaping was clearly part of, some earlier built structure or improvement.
So an empty field that was just mowed wouldn't count, even if people used it.
Correct. You need evidence of actual construction or significant alteration.
Got it.
The big advantage here, if you can clearly show your whole project footprint is on previously developed land, you automatically avoid impacting sensitive land. Boom, you get the point.
Okay, nice and clean. Streamlined route.
Pretty much.
So what if your site isn't previously developed? What if it's, undeveloped land? That leads us to option 2, right? Avoid sensitive land types.
Exactly. If you're building on land that doesn't meet that previously developed definition, then you have to go down the second path.
Which means?
Which means you need to prove that your entire development footprint steers clear of several specific types of sensitive land.
Okay, so what counts as sensitive land that you absolutely have to avoid? What's on the list?
There are 5 main categories to watch out for. First up is prime farmland.
Okay, farmland.
Yeah, and how it's defined depends where you are. In the U.S., it's based on USDA definitions. For our Canadian listeners, you'd look at the Canada Land Inventory, specifically land classed as 1, 2, or 3.
And why is protecting this specific farmland so important for this credit?
Well, it's about food security, isn't it? Protecting our best agricultural land is crucial for feeding ourselves now and, down the line. It's fundamental for resilient communities.
Good point. Big picture thinking. Okay, what's the second category?
Next is floodplains. These are areas identified on official flood hazard maps.
Like the 100-year flood zones you hear about?
Exactly, that's a common example. The 1 in 100 chance flood zone. Avoiding building there is, well, just common sense for safety, right? And it avoids huge potential costs from flood damage, especially with climate change making things less predictable.
Absolutely. Building in floodplains seems like asking for trouble. What's number 3?
The third type is habitat for threatened or endangered species.
Okay. Critical habitats.
Right. These are specific areas officially flagged by government authorities as essential for the survival of species at risk.
Who makes that call?
Depends on the country. In Canada, it would likely be Environment Canada. In the U.S., it's the Fish and Wildlife Service. Protecting these isn't just like a nice thing to do for animals. Biodiversity makes ecosystems stronger, more stable, and those ecosystems provide services we all rely on.
Right, everything's connected. Okay, two more types.
Yep. The last two deal with water. You need to avoid building within 30.5 meters, that's 100 feet, of any water body.
Water body meaning?
Streams, rivers, lakes, oceans. And wetlands count here too. This often means setting up buffer zones.
And those buffers are important because
They're ecologically vital. They filter runoff, prevent erosion, provide habitat. Really crucial stuff.
Makes sense. And the final category, is it just wetlands again?
It's specifically about wetlands, yes. The fifth type is avoiding construction within 15.2 meters or 50 feet of the edge of any wetland.
A slightly tighter buffer for wetlands specifically.
Right. The idea is to protect the integrity of these incredibly valuable ecosystems. Wetlands filter water, control floods like giant sponges, and support a huge amount of life. We really need to protect them.
So for option 2, it sounds like you need a really thorough site investigation, mapping everything out precisely.
You absolutely do. It takes serious homework, which leads us neatly into the next bit. Documentation and verification.
Right, you have to prove you met the rules.
Exactly. Whichever option you choose, you need clear evidence.
So what kind of proof are we talking about? What do teams actually need to submit?
Well, it varies a bit depending on the option 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But you'll almost always need detailed site plans showing your footprint against property lines and natural features.
Okay.
If you're claiming option 1, previously developed, you might need old aerial photos, maybe historical site plans showing what was there before.
Makes sense.
For option 2, avoiding sensitive lands, you'll likely need GIS data, maps showing your footprint overlaid on maps of farmland, floodplains, habitats, water bodies, wetlands.
So visual proof.
Yeah, and often reports from environmental consultants are needed, especially for things like identifying endangered species habitat or properly delineating wetland boundaries.
Specialists, right.
Definitely. And official flood maps, of course, FEMA in the U.S., or the provincial or municipal ones in Canada, plus soil survey reports, like from the NRCS or provincial ag departments, to confirm if it's prime farmland or not.
Wow, okay. So it can be quite involved, potentially needing experts and lots of data. Now, you mentioned using local equivalents is key for projects outside the U.S. Could you just quickly recap those Canadian examples again?
Sure thing. For prime farmland in Canada, you're using the Canada Land Inventory, classes 1 to 3.
Okay.
For floodplains, you need the official 1-in-100-year flood maps from the relevant provincial authority.
Right.
And for habitat for threatened or endangered species, the go-to source is the Species at Risk Public Registry, run by the federal government. Using those ensures it's all relevant to the Canadian context.
Perfect. That's really helpful. So let's say a team understands the rules, knows what to avoid. What are some practical strategies for earning the credit? How can they make it happen smoothly?
There are several good strategies. Brownfield redevelopment is a big one.
Building on old, contaminated sites?
Exactly. You clean up a problem site, meet this credit's option 1 requirements directly, and you might even snag points for other LEED credits, like the brownfield remediation one. Win-win.
Nice. What else?
Focusing on urban infill projects, or just generally choosing previously developed lots in cities or towns, is another direct route to option 1.
Using land that's already been used.
Right. Also, using GIS mapping tools early in the site selection phase is super valuable. You can screen to potential sites for sensitive lands before you commit too much time or money.
Proactive, I like it.
And finally, don't underestimate the value of hiring environmental consultants with good local knowledge. They can navigate the specific regulations, identify habitats accurately, and just generally help ensure you're covering all the bases.
Makes sense to bring in experts when needed. Now, you also mentioned earlier that this credit connects with others in LED, synergies you called them.
Yeah.
How does protecting sensitive land fit into the bigger picture of sustainability in a LEED?
Oh, there are strong connections. For example, the credit for selecting a high-priority site, LTc2, often pushes projects towards existing developed areas, which naturally helps avoid sensitive undeveloped land.
Okay, that fits.
Same with surrounding density and diverse uses, LTc3. That encourages building in dense, established areas, again reducing pressure on greenfield sites.
Right.
We already mentioned the direct link with brownfield remediation. And even something like rainwater management, the SS credit, can connect. Protecting natural areas often helps with managing stormwater naturally, reducing the need for complex engineered systems.
Interesting.
So yeah, protecting sensitive land isn't just this isolated thing. It really reinforces other sustainable goals like compact development, site cleanup, and smarter water management.
So it's woven into the fabric of sustainable design. Looking at the project level, what are the main advantages, the key benefits of actually achieving this LTC1 credit?
Well, there are quite a few. First, and maybe most obviously, it directly reduces the project's ecological footprint. You're avoiding harm to valuable ecosystems.
Oh,
Second, it can help you avoid legal headaches and regulatory tangles. Developing on protected land can get complicated and expensive fast.
good point.
Third, it's great for your sustainability story. It clearly shows clients, the community, everyone, that you're serious about responsible development.
Builds trust.
Exactly. And finally, it boosts resilience. By avoiding floodplains, you reduce future flood risk. By protecting biodiversity, you contribute to more stable local ecosystems. These are real, tangible benefits.
Those all sound like very solid reasons to pursue it. On the flip side, are there any common mistakes, any common pitfalls that teams should watch out for when they're trying to get this credit?
Yeah, there are a few things that can trip people up. One is misunderstanding the previously developed definition. Like we said, just because it had a lawn doesn't mean it counts. You need proof of actual prior construction.
Right, need to be precise.
Another common issue is overlooking small streams or seasonal wetlands. Teams might miss them in initial surveys, but even small features can be ecologically important and fall under the rules. Got to be thorough.
Details matter.
They really do. And lastly, it's crucial not to ignore local rules. Provincial or municipal designations for sensitive lands can sometimes be stricter or different than the federal ones. You need to check all applicable regulations.
So do your homework at all levels, federal, provincial, local.
Absolutely. Thorough due diligence is key.
This has been incredibly clarifying. It really drives home how much those initial decisions about where we build matter. This LVED credit, LTC1, provides such a useful framework for making those decisions responsibly.
It really does.
Yeah.
And understanding not just the rules, but the why behind them, protecting ecosystems, building resilience, helps teams make genuinely better choices that benefit everyone in the long run.
Absolutely. And thinking about that interconnectedness, it leads to a bigger question for all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What responsibility do we have as a whole society in actually defining what land is sensitive and then actively protecting it? Something definitely worth thinking about after this deep dive. If you found this valuable and want to join us for more explorations like this, trying to understand the world around us, please do hit that subscribe button.